This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me right now is Jeff Thramann. He's the founder and executive chairman of Auddia. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is AUUD on NASDAQ. And Auddia will be presenting at our upcoming in-person investor conference, the Planet MicroCap Showcase, happening May 3rd through 5th at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. For more information, please go to planetmicrocapshowcase.com. With that, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you. So this is our first time doing an interview together. So I'd love to start off with a quick overview and history of the company.
Okay, yeah. Well, as you mentioned, the name of the company is Auddia. We're essentially a technology company, and we're trying to reinvent really how consumers engage with audio. And we're doing that through two very specific apps. One is called the Fader app, and the other is called the Vodacast app. Now, Fader focuses on AM/FM radio, and for the first time, we're able to let people listen to AM/FM radio in a completely personalized manner, meaning you can skip any content you don't like, you can cover commercials with other content and still get all that local content. And then on the Vodacast side, that's really our podcasting play, where we're bringing some unique capabilities into podcasting.
So I find that statement that you just said pretty interesting about how you're looking to reinvent how folks engage with audio, both on the podcasting and AM/FM side of things. You know, I was podcast here on SNN Network, so that of course my ears perk up a little bit to understand what that means. So can you explain how your technologies are unique and different compared to what currently exists, or maybe some others that are also trying to reinvent the space?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll focus on the AM/FM radio piece because that's our flagship product called Fader. And when you think about audio as a medium, right, and you look at time spent listening, the dominant player for all time and currently still today is really AM/FM radio. It smokes everybody else from a time spent listening perspective. And one of the reasons for that is, well, there's a big reason is one of it's free and it's convenient, but they also have local content. No other audio platform has that local content that you can access. What they don't have is the ability to listen to radio in a way that consumers have come to expect. And that's in a personalized way. And that's in a way where you can pay a premium subscription and avoid all the interruptions that you don't want to hear. And that would most likely be commercials on radio. So that's the big thing we're bringing to the table there. And we're doing that through a highly advanced artificial intelligence platform that we started to build 4 years ago, and we have really broad patents on. And that's the application of AI to AM/FM listening. So we've taught the AI to know the difference between all the different types of audio content on the radio. So it knows, it can just look at the spectra from that audiogram that's coming across from the sound, and it can say, okay, that's a song, or that's a DJ talking, or that's a commercial. And it can let through the content that the consumer wants to hear. And when it detects something the consumer doesn't want to hear, let's say a commercial, it then puts out a signal and switches to a different source of content during the time when the station is playing those commercials. And then it will flip back to that station at the beginning of a piece of content that is not a commercial.
So for instance, just digging into the concept a little bit, you know, most of this stuff on AM/FM, or almost all of it, I would say, is probably live. So if you're listening in live, how does it then skip the commercials, and what is it, and if it does, what are you skipping to?
Yeah, so the bottom line is it's not exactly live, right? We're doing this off the stream. Streams are slightly delayed off the broadcast anyway. And then what's really happening when the consumer downloads our app, they're downloading two things. One is what we call a digital audio recorder. It's basically a DVR, right, that you would use on video. So you get this digital audio recorder, and you get our AI model, which we have shrunk down to work on the phone. So the consumer then gets the app, they look at the stations that they want to listen to. When they press that button to listen to that station, they're actually recording the stream of that station. So they're just like a individual recording that stream, just like on a DVR, you just be recording the show, off of television. So they're recording that behind the scenes, and then our AI is processing it. So our AI takes about 40 seconds to really start to understand what the stream is. So we're running another 40 seconds behind, and you'll see that accordion a little bit, because what we'll do is we will give you other content as soon as you join that station, and that content is delivered by us. So if it's a music station, let's say a country station, we'll give you a country song, and we have all the licensing rights with the music industry to do that. So we'll do that. And when we get the signal that you're back to the beginning of a piece of content that works on the station that you're recording, we'll let you join. We'll have you join that right then and there. And then we'll keep doing that. And you wind up accordioning back and forth, anywhere from being a minute behind the stream to up to like 4 or 5 minutes behind the stream.
Got it. One last question on the tech, because this is we'll get into it, I'm sure, at a later date. But one more question on the tech. Let's say I went to school at UC San Diego. I now live in LA. In San Diego, there was a couple, reggae stations there that I really love that just do not exist in LA. So is it possible then to listen to some local stations through this app when you're not currently living in that local station?
You can do that, but that's not really that unique, right? I mean, you can do that. You can do that on iHeart if it's an iHeart station, on iHeart Radio. You can do that on the Odyssey app if it's an Odyssey station, and then of course you have TuneIn, which aggregates a whole bunch. But here's a big differentiator: nobody has been able to aggregate every radio station, right? So the first guys to be able to replicate the dial is us. So we get every station, doesn't matter who the broadcaster is, in any location.
And what's your background? I mean, you're the founder. So how'd you come up with this idea and get to where you're at today?
Well, my background is a little unique for this space. So, I mean, my real background is that as a neurosurgeon. So, I was a doctor and I would invent a lot of things. So that's probably my biggest thing. I've always been curious. Engineer at West Point was my undergrad stuff. And then when I went into medicine, I would just invent things as I saw, problems coming about. And I started audio one day when I was just driving down the road. I heard an ad on the radio, and I actually wanted to interact with that ad. It was for an Ice Capades event for a Christmas show that I wanted to bring my girls to. And I never went. And I was thinking, that's one of the problems with radio. You got to do all this stuff you got to remember it. You got to take all these steps to actually execute on what you just heard. And I thought it would be useful to be able to Shazam that ad, have the ticket show up on my phone, execute them, and just go to the venue, show my phone, and I'm done, right? Pretty easy. So we initially built that, and we got about 580 radio stations onto that platform. We had about 1.6 million monthly active users, going through that feed and interacting with that content. But 1.6 million users is not a lot when you have 250 million people still listening to radio every month. So we thought this is really not resonating with consumers, and we started looking at what problems radio was having on the digital side, because there weren't a lot of people streaming on radio, and there still aren't. So because you don't get anything better, there's no improvement. So what we did is we said, the biggest pain point for radio from a listener perspective is commercials. Can we use AI to try to solve that problem? And then we tried it out, and it was working really well. So now we've kind of productized that, and we just launched the Fader app on February 15th.
Very good. So then from what you can tell us, what would, going forward here, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts now for 2022?
Yeah, clearly what we're trying to do is show that consumers want to do this. So the first thing that we've put out to the street to tell people as far as a catalyst goes is we launched on February 15th. Everybody gets the app free for 90 days. And then we're going to start converting to subscriptions. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the app, when I say it's activated, we have music stations. We have 4,500 stations on it right now. The music stations are what we call fader enabled, have to have all this capability. We're not there yet with the news talk sports stations, but that algorithm just kind of crossed the thresholds of performing excellently in a test environment. And we're now productizing that. We'll have that out in Q2. We've put this out in press releases before. So consumers will get that. And once we add that to the model, the music station performance will improve as well. So that's the point where we feel like we've created enough value and the product is working well enough to be able to convert people to subscription. So we're going to have 2 subscription tiers and 1 free tier. So it's those metrics that we put out that's really going to dictate what the value increases would be for this company.
Very good. All right, Jeff. Well, with that, where can our audience go and find more information on Auddia?
Yeah, you can go to our websites. We have AUDIAinc.com. That's going to be transferring over to Auddia.com shortly. But we also have a separate website for Fader, which is spelled FAIDR, and another one for our Vodacast platform, our podcast platform, which is called Vodacast, which is Vodacast.com.
Very good. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.